Meditation. I take a few moments to relax and breathe in peace and breathe out any tension. I am present. I sit with my own discomfort about the situation and acknowledge my own fears. I don't run away from them, and I hold the uncertainty. I settle into my own peace, into those currents of peace that exist always below the waves of all feeling. And there I stay. And from there I listen. I tune into the vibration of the other and listen to what is really being said. Janki Foundation first started in 1997 as a charity that was set up in the UK to support the work of the Global Hospital in India, in Mount Abu. And as we heard earlier in the AGM, this is a very poor area with a lot of poverty, and at the time had very little healthcare cover at all. And that hospital has now expanded to really encompass many different aspects of healthcare, trauma centre, nursing school, all kinds of things. Really working with ill people, with sick people is very rewarding, but it does require emotional labour, as you can imagine. You are dealing with suffering, you're interacting with suffering. And there really is a tension now in health service delivery where you have that intention, you want to deliver really high quality care, but in a system that is under so much pressure that you often feel that you're not giving the kind of care that really you'd even like to receive yourself. It's just so stretched. And that causes a kind of moral distress, really. And I think this moral distress is quite deep. And we know this very, very deeply, that the more we feel cared for, the more whole and healed and content and operating at our best we are, then, of course, the best we can deliver the best care. So that's what we really felt was needed with this app, was something that you could use on the job.
And I've been a doctor for 17 years, and it was so much at the end of that day that rather than going home, I went to my mum and dad's house and I cried at the age of 42, and I said, I can't do this anymore. Spending the day with people who need our help is enormously rewarding, and if I could just hone in on those moments when there's space, they're beautiful, but also it's kind of hard going. So there's a fine line between finding empathy and caring for people, and when it feels overwhelming, to not then be numbed by it and then to not care and to depersonalize. So this issue about stress and burnout, when it affects me or my colleagues or anyone on the front line, the problem is it starts to affect all of us. Also, if we are stressed and overwhelmed on the front line, we're much less likely to listen to our patients. And we all know what that feels like when we're not listened to. As a system, how does a system nurture workplaces where we're more likely to do what we want to do, which is care for our patients? And I think that's what this app does, is that it provides a vehicle of self-compassion. All of the commentaries are about a minute. On the front line, even I can take a minute between patients to just stop, reconnect, replenish with whatever's inside before I then go on. Because if we're unable to look after ourselves, we can't look after the people that we want to look after. You know, this app isn't at all saying that the system doesn't need to do its job. It absolutely must, but it provides a very practical, caring way for us to show some self-compassion to ourselves when life is quite tough, because it can only take 30 seconds or a minute. And all of the commentaries, as you'll hear, are based around the stories that we've all lived in our lives.
What were the things that people need help with? What were, about the feelings that they had at work? And there was this list generated. And if you go through, I wrote down what the list was. And if you go through it, it's really awful, really. Stressed, overworked, unsafe, bullied, anxious, drained, attacked, fearful, losing hope. Oh my God. But there were a lot of voices and a lot of experiences involved with doing this. And the whole procedure was it is the style of JF to do things very thoroughly.
Sometimes you can just do one, it just depends on where you are, but it's a great product. And when we were writing those meditation commentaries, obviously we meditated and we looked at positivity, kind of experientially. And that's what has come out in the meditation, the experiential compassion that we experienced. So for me, as a person who wrote it out of that compassion, and then to be sometimes compassion fatigued, I'm the same person, but I can be this and that, but also I can go back to being compassionate.
I tried to listen to the essence of what the meditations were saying and pick out any visual clues or any feelings that I could find within those, and then just draw from that and create this image which hopefully conveys something which is beyond thought and conveying these deep spiritual concepts which the app surrounds itself with. And hopefully I managed to do that. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, because this is something I feel really passionate about, and it's my passion to create art that inspires people to look deeper within themselves.
I can see that the whole subject of values, but then how to apply all of these things in terms of every profession that exists, but in particular, the two professions that have the greatest tension, and it's education and it's also healthcare. And this is what I've noticed worldwide, that it's these two caring professions that actually experience the greatest stress. And again, that led to another idea that's been reflected here tonight, and that is, who's caring for the carers? I can imagine it's going to be highly valuable for everybody who's going through so much stress. When you do take that time, even for a minute, like you shared so eloquently, that if I take even just a minute for myself, it's a recharging of the inner battery, a chance to let the world outside stay out there, and I come back to my inner state of peace. I hope that through this act, people are going to discover that that inner state of well-being and peace is a natural state. And the more I do it, the more natural it becomes, and the easier it is to be able to maintain it and just stay with that.